Righto, up in here, I've had all this here taped up till now. You can see the screw lobes in there. This thing's only really little, like this is like only 50 mil, 50, 60 mil, so it's really small. So you can see the two screws in this compressor. I think one drives the other, I think. So we're going to put the control valve back on the top here. We'll do that now. Also, what I was talking about, you can see some of the shellacking here. Oh, there we go, the light finally comes on right when, oh no it didn't. That's the shellacking from the oils. It's hard, you can't you can just scratch it with your fingernail. Obviously I can't get in there and clean that because everything's going to go down into the screw. So what I'm going to do is fresh oil, we'll talk about oil later, and then I'll run it maybe for 100 hours and I'll change it. The oil will break the shellacking down inside and take it with it. So shouldn't do any harm in the short term, but like I say, I will do an initial oil change not long after I've started it up. So here's the intake valve. You can see the poppet up in there, all that was gummed up. I've had all of that apart. I didn't de-shellac all that, which I probably should have. I didn't want to expose any of that to water or cleaners. A couple of little tiny orifices screwed in underneath it. I accessed it down to the top. I got it all taped up with a clamp on it, so stuff can't get in. And there's the port that's controlled via a little solenoid valve that the controller brings on and off to open and close this little valve inside here to let air in. Obviously what normally happens is a compressor like this starts up with the intake completely shut so everything can spin up to speed, and then once it's ready to come online the valve will open and it'll allow it to actually draw air through. Once it's drawing and starts compressing, then everything comes on to load. So that's when you'll start showing amps on your motor. Obviously, except for that initial startup current. Anyway, we'll hook all this down now, put the O-ring under it, there's an O-ring groove in it. I'll put the O-ring in it, bolt it all down, hook up the solenoid valve and keep working. Here we have the new shaft seal for the input shaft. It's a PTFE seal. PTFE seals come in many different types of reinforced fibres and all sorts of funny whiz-bang things. What this one is, I don't know. This is the first time I've ever fitted one, but you can see the lips. There's two internal lips pointing towards the pressure, and then out the front there's a dust wiper. You can see that. All PTFE. Now, some of these, you can imagine, you see the lips the way they're facing. Let me try and get bigger. There we go. See the lips are facing towards the camera. If you try and push this onto the shaft, those lips can fold backwards. So you've got to be very careful fitting these up. So it's best to fit them in situ, well I think, like this, and then push the sleeve into it. That way the sleeve's going to push the lips in the direction they're facing. It'll be less likely to fold them backwards. Some of them come from factory with a very thin plastic sleeve inside them, and the sleeve ID is slightly bigger than the shaft they fit. So you slide the whole assembly, meaning this seal plus the plastic mandrel, over the shaft of the new item, of the item you're trying to seal basically. This goes onto the shaft, and then very carefully you work out that plastic sleeve, that mandrel, and then you let this sit for like 4 hours, and the lips will close in by themselves onto the shaft. Now, I've read a bit about them, and some of them will actually shrink. There's memory in the PTFE, and they're in a stretch state brand new. Once they build a bit of heat, or heat transfers into them more than anything, they will shrink down onto the shaft, I think, in some applications. Not all applications, depending on what type of seal it is. The PTFE is used because it's extremely low in friction, can handle the heat. In this case, this thing's doing 10,000 revs a minute on that circumference, so you know, out at that diameter, the surface speed's not super high, but you've got to remember this is holding back the oil and the air pressure that the compressor generates. So sorry if I'm not holding it real straight. I'm trying to look at it sideways here. I'm looking at the side view of the camera, but you can see the brand name there, and you can see the size, 28 by 40 by 12, and then their number as well. It did have a little ELGI sticker on the side. There's still some bits of it there I'm trying to work off, which isn't ideal because that's where the pressed surface goes into the ball, where this thing goes into the housing. So I'll clean all that off with my finger. I've read not to touch the lips at all. I don't know really why not, if the oils on your finger do something or whatever, but they got to go on dry. No lubricant at all on these. Some types I've also read that over time they'll transfer some of the PTFE onto the shaft. That's why whenever you buy a new seal and fit it, you also have to buy a new sleeve. Can't reuse the old sleeve, so this is ground to a finish, to a surface finish for this seal, the right hardness, the whole shebang. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press this into the little housing that it comes with, that's for, sorry, and then mount that to the compressor, and then when I'm ready I'll use my little dismounting tool that I made to get the old sleeve off. I've made it so it can be used in reverse to push the new sleeve on, so we'll go and do that. So I just pressed the new seal into the little housing here. And how I did that is to put it in, like here's the old seal for instance, line it up in there, put in the vise, it's a little hydraulic vise, and basically just squeeze it in nice and uniformly until it bottomed out right up inside. So I haven't touched that, straight out of the packet, I haven't contacted with my fingers or nothing like that, and we're going to install it on the compressor now. So I've fitted the seal housing to the compressor. You can see the lips in there facing inwards and the dust seal facing outwards. So there's gasket eliminator, Loctite gasket eliminator 515 on the back of this, sealing it up against the back face. So now I'll put the 3 bolts in and get ready to mount the new shaft sleeve. Here's the new shaft sleeve. This is like $5.50. Pretty nicely made little thing. And what I'll do is I'll spray this outer surface with contact cleaner so it's dry and there's no lubricant on it. And then I'll have it mounted to my little pusher that I made, which is the puller obviously. That'll go on the shaft. Like I say, it'll be guided by that surface there as my puller goes on. Alrighto. Here's the new sleeve mounted up inside the tool, and it's about to go on the shaft. So I haven't got my tripod, so I just show you what I'm going to do and do it. You'll see the finished result. And this is the setup pushing the new sleeve on. So you can see here there's a nut and a washer. The new sleeve is in the puller, and that's it. Just tighten the nut, drive it on the shaft, done.